My name is Kevin Yin, CEO of Sitscape, and we're actually based in Tyson's Corner, so it's really not far from here today, and it's a great opportunity to talk to you guys here today. I'd like to spend roughly maybe 15 minutes, hopefully not 20 minutes, just to talk a little bit about the technology, the customers, and why we're doing this, and what the traction. Hopefully, when you hear what I talk, but you can also abstract some of the real business challenges we're facing today, and the reason why the technology can be very helpful to the customers. A little bit about Sitscape. Sitscape actually stands for situational or cyberscape or situational missionscape. So really it's a combination of tools, and the technology mainly for situational awareness and for actionable operational intelligence for primary intelligence community, as well as the DoD customers. I would like to give you a little bit of background about the company. Then I get into some of the technology and the problem sets. So a little bit about ourselves is we actually is Incotel funded company. I don't know how many of you guys heard about Incotel. Yeah, you did. Okay. So anybody else? Sounds like maybe 20% guys know, so maybe I still should talk a little about it. So Incotel basically is a CIA venture arm for the Central Intelligence Agency. Started in 1999, but right now it's way more than CIA now. I think it's a number of large intel community agencies like NSA, DIA, and a lot of others, which is public information. If you go to Incotel, iqt.org, you get the information. And for those of you who actually don't know Incotel, actually, I'm sure you use the Google Earth, right? So Google Earth actually was initially called Keyhole, and it was the first invested by Incotel, and it got acquired by Google, I think in 2005, something like that. Another enterprise technology company is called Oxeye, and they got acquired by HP about a year and a half ago for $2.5 billion or something like that. So they did a couple of major investment, turns out really well. And we were one of the technology companies that invested a couple of years ago. And our primary customer initially is the Intel community, but now our most of our customers came from the Department of Defense, Army, Air Force, and combat commands, and various other places. And highlight a couple of things, just give you guys, we actually was a receiver of the Air Force Headquarters Rapid Innovation Award last year. That's fairly recent. We received this innovation award. That's not a small number of dollars. It's an excellent number of $1 million. We sort of joking about it's actually better than Nobel Prize. It's more than that. So pretty happy with that as a pure innovation award, more than just a commercial or a licensing or contract for that. And we're also working very closely with a number of other DoD customers. One of them is the U.S. Army, and specifically one example is D6A. That's a multi-billion-dollar DoD initiative. Some of you guys probably know that. So I'd like to go through a few quick slides here. The first one is what problem you try to solve here. The problem we try to solve is in this very large enterprise or very international organizations. They have a challenge. The challenge is got a lot of data, a lot of systems, a lot of applications, a lot of legacy. And the operators, the senior leaders, the analysts, they don't have either way to get information. So what they want is actually do what Tom Cruise did in the movie of Minority Report, if you guys remember that movie. And basically, he was just moving his hand around to get information in front of him, and he can make a decision much, much faster and make an analysis faster. So our technology, while we're not the hardware vendor, we're the software vendor to make that happen. And you can actually point to any web page, any desktop application, and Linux application, databases, document management system, antivirus database, log files, whatever you have access to. And being very rapidly create something we call user-defined operating picture, UDOP. And in the DoD, you guys probably heard the term called the COP, Common Operating Picture. And we basically take the COP into the next level. Because the COP usually takes, say, 2 years to develop a COP, and everyone look at the same information. Well, the reality is that everyone try to see different because your business is different, your different level of granularity you want to see. So UDOP actually is a perfect answer because you actually can help them to address the challenges they have and to be able to deliver the right information that's relevant in that situation. So we basically make that happen. And when we make that happen, a couple of key differentiation is we don't need you to know any programming. I know a lot of folks here are computer science background, and the customer, the users using our technology primarily are not a computer scientist. They might have some technology background, but they don't need to know how to know programming at all. And they can do it on the fly with our software. It's 100% browser-based. That means they don't have to install any software either, and make the security either, because there's no software installed on the device or on the computer. It can be a mobile device, can be a laptop, can be a PC, whatever it is, but it's all browser-based. It can be IE, can be Chrome browser, can be Firefox, can be Safari. It doesn't really matter. It's lightweight and very visual as well. This slide will give you a little slide to show you the concept behind collaboration, the information sharing. If you can make this happen really powerful by user, think about how powerful it could be if you can share and collaborating with others in real time. So instead of imagine just not one Tom Cruise, you got 100 or 1 million Tom Cruise working together doing that stuff. Think of that power, right? So really, that's actually really interesting if you think about that. And I'd like to show you a little bit of, see the little visualization here. Does it work? Okay, you see the information can flow from one user to another, from an analyst to a mobile user, and actually can go from the command center to a Navy ship, and they share information to Air Force, and push the information over to a Army soldier. That happens on a real-time basis. Literally, you can just slice information from one computer to another and working together on a real-time basis, or you can join the two computer screen at real time, or working in a shared virtual space in real time together. It's really visual in that context. So without doing a live demonstration, it's hard to describe that, but I hope you can imagine a little bit. Now I'm going to walk you through a couple of use cases. The first use case is really what they call senior leadership briefing. So think about in Pentagon and in various other places. And the 4-star generals want to get together. How do they go through the information? It's very complex, right? Even yesterday, the day before, about the Boston thing, it's very complex information. Different people want to see different level of information. So our technology allows you to create a very high-level strategic view that allow you to drill down to the operational and then to the tactical view as the different information, link them together. And this is another diagram to show you how actually this happens. Is you allow subject matter expert work at the level they low, and they can share information to the knowledge manager, and the knowledge manager can put the information together to the senior leaders. But they can tie all those pieces together and they create a very logical and a virtual knowledge base on the fly. And this is the same concept. I'm going to go through that. I'd like to go through a couple of screenshots just to show you that's a Stu Abstract, where this can be used. I talk about the senior leaders, White House, Pentagon. You can imagine how they can get the information much more easier, faster, visual, interactive, real time. Operations Center. Now, a lot of folks here are cybersecurity, so we have folks use this in the cybersecurity center, data center, cloud computing, military situation rooms, first responders. They want to get information fast. They want to share information fast and easy. The information doesn't have to be databases, though. It can be video, can be images, can be documents, can be log files, can be cyber analysis. Can be a lot of fingerprints, anything you envision. How do you put them together and share in the context that makes sense to you? Data correlation. I think this is probably more relevant to this audience. Is if you have cyber viruses, log files, and IT information, and various information come with different format and different databases, different sources. How do you actually correlate them on the fly? Because the subject matter expert might know something. They're not technologists, but if you give them the data access, they can use our technology to correlate in different data sets on the fly in the browser, while the data doesn't have to be on the same database. For example, you can bring data from Oracle, you can bring data from Excel, you can bring data from say Salesforce.com. You can allow the user to correlate data, generate a visualization, and then apply different filters to see the patterns emerging. And the power, it's really in the imagination of the users now. You can make that decision as a business user instead of relying on a programmer. Say, hey, those are the requirements. Can you help me to build this application? And I can use. That usually takes at least a couple of weeks. Now you can make that happen in literally minutes, hours, instead of, say, weeks or sometimes years in the DoD case. And by that time, the data is outdated, right? And the user knows how they're doing. Now, think about today, if you're writing an email, you still have your secretary type your email for you? Is that what you do? No. Even if it's president, you still type your emails, or, right? Because the email used to be you have to know how to do a typewriter, because typewriter is specialist. Today you can do email. Think about it, take the concept in a very advanced technology with a lot of data sets and a different format. As long as the technology is very easy to use, it's very visual, and people will pick up and they can use it because they realize they can do it much, much faster than somebody else can do. There's sort of visualizations you can envision. I'm not getting into too much details. You can make a lot of information very easy to understand and coordinate together. And very powerful visualizations and fairly interactive and different ways of analyzing information. They're highly dynamic as well. A little bit of collaboration I want to show you here is two users working together. This is a very simple example, but because I want to keep it simple in this case, is if you want to connect my workspace with your workspace in real time, then those are not just a screen sharing. They are a virtual space in the cloud, in the server side. In this case, you see two objects. The first one is a document. The second one is real-time weather. Now you and I can working together, working through the PowerPoint together, correlate information, highlight them together, and with the different permissions, etc. If you have a map, actually I can drill down the map, flying through the map, and you see what I'm doing in real time. And you can contribute. You more than just watch. You can actually contribute to my map. For example, you can drag a video, or you have a picture, you can drag over to my map. It shows on my map real time with the different layers as real time basis, instead of back and forth, or this is real time. So think about the virtual space that's real time, does not relate to your computer screen. It's on the server side, it's in the cloud, and everyone can work together. Think about that possibility, right? And this is another example. Is if you look at this document here on the second user, which is user B, I'm looking at a document right now. This could be a cybersecurity center. You're looking either could be a document, it can be analysis, can be a log file, can be a scan, some sort of behavior. You want our second user to see. So with our technology, you literally just, if it's a touch screen, just slide them over, which shows on the second user computer screen. And they're still interactive with real time. So anything you can see, you can slide over, it will be shown somebody else's computer screen in real time. How do you do that today? You cannot do it really, other than you can probably open a WebEx or something, that's just way too much overhead, right? Plus there's a lot of other security concerns. And you can do a screenshots. I mean, that's still, it's not live anymore. So now you can actually slice the information and slide over to any user, and they can get the information on real time. They're working with your real time basis. And the geo, without getting too much details, you can actually develop very advanced GIS-based experience. That's really situational based on where you are, and the information will be displayed very differently. So think about if one of the dimensions is really location. As the location change, what the information you want to see will be different. The classic example is the GPS. When you drive a GPS, you actually see information changes, right? Think about it, that's a very limited version of what the real battlefield or operating picture should be. Because in the real world, you may be in a battlefield, as you're driving around or flying around, the information is more than just the traffic. It can be relevant information, about the blue force, red force, and it can be anything that's relevant. It will show up dynamically based on the correlation of the information and metadata you have. Or do dynamic discovery, it displays the information to you on your computer screen without you actually do a search by yourself. The engine will deliver the information to you. So a next generation of GPS, think a little bit about that. That's a possibility. Apply to different environment. It can be a GIS as a driver. That can be, say, time-based, can be other attribute-based. It doesn't have to be GIS, but I'm just using GIS as example to stimulate a little thinking in your mind. This applies, even the GIS applies really well in the Army, in the Air Force, various sort of cases. The information in your computer screen changes dynamically without you doing anything. And that's actually an interesting concept if you think about that, right? Today, most of the computer software is built as interactive, which means if you don't touch anything, the computer doesn't do anything. Maybe a little bit inerts or something, but the computer user interface doesn't change dynamically or adaptively. Think about that, right? Sure. Any software you use today, pretty much you do something. App, iPhone, you tap your icon, it shows up something. Email, you touch it, email, you do something. That's a traditional model. But the software doesn't have to be that way. It can be a different way to build a software than that. Can we do that? Actually, part of our technology solves that part of that problem, but I think it's a big problem. We have been working with the DoD customers to demonstrating how, that's a situation, right? In a situation environment, how the user interface adapt to your situation instead of user have to do something first. Think about that. So, another example, how do you overlay different information? That doesn't have to be just a bunch of icons on a map layer. Today, if you use Google Map, you probably can plug something there with a little restaurant, a little icon. That's pretty basic. But in a real world, you have a lot of analysis, videos, live feed, highly interactive information. How do they dynamically display it or drag and drop to a specific position of a GIS environment and deliver the experience to the audience? It's more than just printout. It's more than just simple map. Actually, when you receive this new experience, you receive an application. This application is actually assembled from many other applications on the fly. And that's something, can be very interesting, seeing what the software can do. Really what end of the day is not about technology, I think, is what the problem you can solve and how fast, how easy, how much money you can save, how many lives you can save, right? This is an important thing to think about. Another example is how do you actually take the Twitter concept to the next level? Twitter basically just a bunch of text delivered to you. And how do you correlate information and combine information that's more than just text, but other information such as video, such as your homegrown system, when you can actually send you a tweet, attach my application to it. And when you receive a tweet, not only you see the tweet, but you see the live application. For example, I have a camera, I can just attach my camera to my tweet. Okay, attach my cybersecurity tool to you. When you see the Twitter, you actually can open the cyber analysis right in front of you. Or I can attach a PowerPoint, that's the easy one. Think about the possibilities. Why would we only send text? Why cannot I correlate the information? You already have the information. It just matters what delivers through Twitter or some type of Twitter type of messaging. And so make it very, very rich and contextual, more than just purely text or purely video, because they don't really talk to each other. And that can hope that also be helpful thinking for you guys here. This is another example I want to talk, because OpenMind for you is, we got a lot of investment over the years on the client server systems, databases, and desktop applications, Unix systems. They're not really web-based. But today, majority of the user access the application using web-based channel, web services, or whatever it is. Now, how do you turn existing application and make them web accessible in a web browser, such as when you walk around with an iPad? Do you want to see the information in your data center? If your data center monitoring tool is desktop-based, how do you mix and match web and non-web together? And how do you virtualize and visualize the application running on the server into your browser and your iPad? Now you basically virtualize your operation center, right? Think about the big, here, monitoring center. You guys being the large data center, you see big walls, people put a lot of videos there, right? You spend $20 million, build a watch center. You can actually turn that into a virtualized mini version in your iPad or your laptop, even better, because you can access it anywhere you want. The challenge is because a lot of the stuff they put on the wall is actually already desktop-based, or client-server-based, or Unix-based. So the only way you can do is connect the cable and put them on the wall. I mean, that's actually a very large business. If you probably don't know, that's really a lot of money people spend on that. Physical security, how do you connect all the videos all together and then mix and match together? So I'm not going to go through a lot of details. What I'm trying to say here is there are different ways to build a software. And one of the ways we think would be very useful is now to try to reinvent a brand new software, because that's hard. But it's actually reuse what you have put the past investment. Large, I use the DoD as an example. IC communities. You can go to large banks, go to airlines, transportations, medical industries. There are a lot of investment to put in over the years. So it's unrealistic to think you're going to throw them away. So we need to find new ways to say, okay, how do I actually reuse the investment they have, but to deliver a new experience And the new experience should not be a software engineer driven, because the software engineer usually deliver information systems are very rigid based on requirements. And that's the old paradigm. What we should think about that is change the way of deliver software that needs to be on demand, needs to be composite, needs to use the interoperability, and to be able to extensible using architecture. So that not only can reuse what you have, but you can add on top of that and make them talk to each other on the fly and deliver a new experience the user like, to be mobile, for example, right? Browser. Those are the newer generation are used to. And those are the things that we actually have been doing, and that's the reason we're getting a lot of interest from the large customers. On the other hand, our technology is not limited to DoD, though. Even though our primary customers are the large DoD customer, we have received a lot of interest from the large commercial customers as well. Because the fundamental challenge they have, it's not different than DoD, right? Banks, airlines, utility companies, they have the same problem. It's just a little different data sets, pharmaceutical companies. And our technology has been tracked at some very strong interest. We're in the process of, working on some of the large commercial customers as well. And so with that, I'd like to thank you for your time to see if any questions. Yeah.
How resource heavy is it, or what kind of latency do you get with that kind of program?
It's very efficient from the bandwidth perspective. Usually, if you want to run the application very effectively, a 3G device works perfectly fine, no problem. From the footprint perspective, you don't need a very powerful machine. A laptop, a 300 laptop or iPad, $400 iPad works perfectly fine, no problem. Yeah.
You talked about the data correlation a little bit, right? So is that something that the user has to define when they see data coming from different sources? They have to correlate it themselves on the web front, or is that something the application will do it for them?
That's a very good question. As of today, it's primarily the user driven, which means the user actually, because the user usually are the subject matter expert. The challenge they had to pass is even they understand, maybe you should look from here to there. There's no software to make them happen graphically on a real-time basis. So we basically have the graphic interface. Okay, I want to do this. Because if this doesn't work, I'm going to remove it, and the pattern and the data visualization will change dynamically. Yeah. The short answer is it's not an AI tool. Yeah, it's not artificial intelligence. Okay.
So in minutes means you're going to provide them with a shell of scope of possibilities, but absolutely nothing working, right? Because they will have to take it and spend their months putting it all together, but you will not be involved with it, right?
You mean we?
Because the only reason why I brought it up because you have months and minutes.
Right.
It means a lot to me. I work with COP, a little bit.
Right.
So if I get it from you, I'm going to get a wonderful interface capable of many, many magical things, and you're going to be gone, and I'm going to spend months putting it together.
No, it's not months. That's our customers. That's I think that's a good way to, because that tells me how much challenge we had as an industry, right? Because that's the reality. In the past, you have to throw SAP, SAP as an example. Then people walk away. 2 years later, you still do implementation of the SAP, right? With Sitscape, that's not the case. Usually we deliver the software, the same day installation, and the second day is for operational. People started working it. Yeah.
To be operational immediately in terms of data correlation and everything, how the flow of information, the dynamic functionalities and so on. It's really not up to you, or do you recommend certain setup? Templates, profiles, you bring your experience, you help them to set up, make decisions, and so on, or you just walk away and let them?
Yeah, actually, we provide, that's actually a business model question. We primarily provide technology, but we also have a professional service and working with other partners. Actually, we have some large system integrators. They can provide additional training or consulting if they want. But the reality is our customer, after they use it for a couple of days, they realize they don't need a lot of it. Unlike traditional tool, they need a lot of trainings or hand-holding. Really, they don't need that. It's pretty easy to do.
So if you assess your capabilities, for example, you can do 100 things. How many of them really being used in installations you actually sold and you have and as a client and so on? In terms of the scope of your capability, do you think there's a single one which is 100% or do you usually go 20, 30? What are your assessments?
I actually classify in the 3 categories. Depends on which customer they are. They don't have to use all the features, right? So the first class of the customers, I consider them operational. which means operation centers, cyber centers, or command and control, C4. They're primarily interested in being able to put information together and make them accessible in real time and monitoring what's going on, and to be able to share information pretty quickly and access that. They don't do a lot of deep big data analysis. They don't have time. If you think about a tanker or a pilot, he's not going to do big data analysis when he's flying around, right? So that's the first category. The second category is what I consider is information sharing. They're not really real time. They're also not truly operational guys in the operation center, but they have a lot of interest about how to aggregate information together, share information in the right format. They can work for a couple hours, and they don't have to share information real time. For example, if I'm a police guy or firefighters, I put something very relevant, I want to share to another police, they're not real time information. So how do you visualize information and packaging together and share with a lot of other audience or collaborating? It's actually a very, very big problem, collaboration, information sharing.
So that's an example would be collaboration between first responders and response across America and DHS.
Right.
So because DHS is one of the customers,
Yes, DHS is our customer, yeah.
that would be a very common use.
Right. There's no black and white. Sometimes the collaboration has a real-time aspect of just trying to roughly put in the buckets. The third bucket is actually data analysis, data visualization, and data correlation. And usually the users are analyst type. Right? The analysts do data. They understand a lot of data sets and different format, and they want to know, discover patterns. They want to do analysis to help decision making, discovery. And this might take, say, anywhere between a couple hours to a couple days, who knows, it depends on how complex the problem. And in those cases, they usually have some training or background how to do data works or how this, and they use our software with this. But when they use this, they still need to share information. So it's by no means if you use the third one, you don't use the first one or second one, right? But hopefully at least you see 3 buckets that maybe gives you a little idea on that. Yeah. Question there.
Given that the design of the scheme is for use of data sharing and all of that, sharing applications and the video feed, if one user is compromised with a virus, that means the virus just as easily utilizes these pathways to infect the entire network simultaneously?
That's a very good question. Depends on what you mean viruses, because the software itself is a web-based software, right? There's no devices or anything. Yeah.
I understand that it's a very thin client and
Right.
other things on the back end of the server.
Right.
Everyone's kind of logging in the old way. And so, you have a user that's logged into this system with these, virtual, emulated environments, and you have all the applications that can share back and forth.
Right.
From that point, if they're compromised, they open up Internet Explorer in that environment, go to Facebook, wherever they go, they get a virus or some malware. At that point, in that piece of malware, use those same pathways that you're transferring data rapidly between all those other, virtualized hosts, to take advantage of that as well and travel through the pathway.
Yeah, I think that's actually a very good question. The short answer to your question is in many cases, the software algorithm actually does not really pass in the data. When you pass in the metadata, that significantly reduce the likelihood, because there's no virus actually passing through. Because in many cases, we just pass the metadata around.
Just sharing the screen, is that what you're saying?
In some cases, yeah. It depends on where, it's a heuristic, right? So in some cases, you only need to share the virtualized version, not the real version, Then you don't really have that problem, yeah. It's still localized. You can access, but it's localized to you, Yeah.
One last question.
That's a good question.
What do you find is the biggest bottleneck in the whole process? Is it the data collection, transfer, aggregation, correlation, normalization, presentation?
That's a very good question. That's a very long a life cycle of the data knowledge management, information flow. I think since we are really not a infrastructure provider at the lowest layer, right? So there's a lot of vendors can do that. I think that's still a big challenge is the data quality. Right? Because if you don't have good data quality, no matter how visualized they are, they're not really useful. So we are not a data quality company. There are vendors can do that better. If you can provide a decent data quality, And we solved the data visualization correlation layer really well. And I think that's used to be embedded in manual process or disparate commercial software. Now we basically standardized and make it much easier to use.